Well, if comedy were a circus, and some people say it is a circus, improv would be the high wire act.
Weirdly, part of my life is being uncomfortable. If you get in your way from improvising, the hypnosis gets you past that.
I'm impressed that you made it through on a day the school buses were canceled on the icy roads, and in a few minutes you'll be skating up to the Avon or Avon Theatre to do the show called Hyprov.
20 people volunteer to be hypnotized. The most susceptible remain on stage to improvise.
Tell me how that combination of hypnosis and improv got started.
Asad Meki, who is the hypnotist of the show, was taking classes at Second City. And he realized that the instructors were telling the students, get out of your head. You're thinking too much. You've got to sort of do unconscious comedy. And he realized that's what he does with hypnotism. He hypnotizes people. It gets rid of that part of the brain that deals with self-criticism and self-reflection, that part of the brain that tells you can't do something. And he thought, well, I wonder if we could sort of combine those two things. So he contacted me. I thought it was insane. So I thought, yeah, of course I'll do it, because weirdly, part of my life is being uncomfortable, and that's where I have the most fun, and being outside of my comfort zone. I thought, well, this can't be, I don't think I can get too much farther out of my comfort zone working with people I don't know who are in a hypnotic state. So, and it's been great. So we started, I think, 2016, and we sort of did a practice show at the Second City after the main stage had done their show. I made the mistake of, just before we went on, I went, oh, hey, Asad, if I ask them to do this, will they do it? And he said, I don't know. I said, what? He said, well, it depends on the subject. Some absolutely will, some will not. Some will be a little, almost seem like they're stoned. Everything will be a little slow to them. And I thought, oh, I really should have asked that at the coffee where we decided to do this. And then it worked out. And then as we started doing it, we both kind of realized there's more we can do with them. I thought this show is basically going to be me doing sort of traffic control and doing all the work. And I found that was not true at all. These people react immediately to everything Asad and I say. They're true improvisers, because they're not thinking, they're just reacting. The downside, it's not really a downside, but all they have is truly in the moment. So when they're coming up with something, they're not thinking, oh, this could lead to a place down the road where we can, none of that. So that's my job, to sort of tie in all these things and sort of head towards an ending of the scene.
And you've had a chance to fine-tune this, because you had a very successful off-Broadway run for many, many weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which was another dream, being in New York doing shows, and they went very well. And we always, or I always thought anyway, you know what, it's best if we don't have improvisers or actors come up, because people are already skeptical of the two art forms. They're constantly thinking, I've come up with a scenario for every possible suggestion that's going to get thrown at me. And Asad, and for both of us, it's kind of a button, trying to prove or trying to show that, we don't know these people. And, after the show, some people would say, well, of course they were plants. You hypnotize them and they improvise well. And it's like, yeah, that's the concept of the show. We're showing that you get in your way from, in real life, from improvising. The hypnosis gets you past that.
There's a barrier in all of us, and if we were spontaneous, this is what would come out.
Exactly. So, and through the New York show, we were trying out new scenarios, and we were at this improv theater, and they were kind enough to let us have a spot. And every night we have a star, someone who goes above and beyond. And one night we had this incredible woman, and afterwards her friend came up and said, she's an improviser. I went, oh, okay. She said, I've never seen her improvise like that, ever. She's never been that grounded. She's never come up with those characters before. That was a totally different improviser. And I thought, oh, well, yeah, just because you're an improviser or an actor doesn't mean you're good at it, or it doesn't mean that you're you don't stop yourself from actually being in the moment. So I felt a little better about that. I felt I was being prejudiced against my own people.
Have you discovered some real life talent that, hey, we could do a whole new television series based on some of these spontaneous hypnotic actors?
No. We haven't found
that
anything.
good. Okay.
No, we do a thing where I improvise a song with one of them. We sing a duet, and while they're in a hypnotic state, Assad says, "Raise your hand if you are a singer," and then he picks one. And even in a hypnotic state, people lie. There are some people. It's like, well, oh, so you believe you can sing, but you can't. You can't. So we actually just stopped doing that and just brought anyone up because it didn't really matter if they could sing or not.
Now, at the beginning, I said the improv is the high wire of comedy because you're going out there without a safety net. Is that an apt description? Are you kind of prepared with anything when you go out there, or is it totally taking a risk?
No, my entire warm up is getting to the point where I can just walk on stage with absolutely nothing and feel comfortable with that. And that's, I mean, I've been improvising for 40 years now. And I've been fortunate enough to work with, great people, people I trust, and that certainly makes it easy going out and going, well, we'll just see what happens. And you really can't plan anything. When you do, the audience knows. It's like, it seems like, it seemed a little too easy. And we all take pride in not planning. And that's the joy for us, to go out with absolutely nothing and somehow make something out of nothing. And as I said, people are skeptical. They say, oh, you've made that up, or you didn't make it up, you wrote it. And I always said, next time you're watching a Who's Line, transcribe those scenes and then read them. See if they make any sense to you.
The other day I stole something, it really was a sin. It was a little revolver made of gelatin.
Because they don't. They're truly an art form of a moment. And if you still think that, then we are incredible actors.
Well, actors and comedians must be very jealous because you don't have to rehearse a script. You just sit back and get in the moment, I guess. There's no prep work for you.
Yeah, there is sort of a jealousy, I think, at times where people and part of the thing I worry about this show is people realize how easy improvising is. It really is. It just goes against everything we do as humans, which is listening, accepting people's ideas, and building on that.
So the premise is, under hypnosis, you say the first thing that comes into your head, whereas not under hypnosis, you're editing yourself.
Yeah. People say, well, why are you hypnotizing people? Why don't you just bring people out of the audience? And we were doing like short little films to sort of publicize our stay in New York. And we were at a market, and we would pick someone and do a little improv scene. And I wish that those people could have seen, because you see the difference right away. The people who aren't hypnotized, who are just off the street, they're self-conscious, they're laughing all through it. There's a lot of ums, and that doesn't happen with the hypnotic volunteers.
You mentioned this project got workshopped or started at the Second City, which is where you had your early part of your career. Mm-hmm. Tell me about Second City today compared to when you were there, and how it continues to create new concepts.
It does. It's always looking to the next level. When I was there, there was, I guess, Chicago and Toronto, and now there's a few more. Each place has expanded with its teaching, corporate workshops, regular workshops. They all have like a television sort of studio. So they've really cornered the market. I think every comedian I can think of who's doing really well has gone through the Second City program. People like Stephen Colbert, Stephen Carell, Tina Fey. It really is a comedy college. You learn how to write, you learn how to improvise, you learn how to deal with an audience, you learn how to work with different types of people. So yeah, Second City was a very important part of my life.
Now, you were going to go study fish in Wales before you decided to get into comedy. That's quite a leap from going underwater to going on stage.
Yeah, I wanted to be a marine biologist. And I think it was mostly due to the fact I liked the TV show Flipper. There was no, it wasn't really a science-based thing. It was like, oh, I'd like to swim with dolphins. I think it worked out probably best for all of us that I didn't ruin the seas of the world.
And the dolphins wouldn't laugh as much as the
Not as much. No, I actually saddened dolphins, weirdly.